In the turbulent era of the Three Kingdoms, the death of one hero ignited a storm of revenge. Guan Yu, the legendary general of Shu, suddenly perished in a surprise attack. Liu Bei, filled with anger and sorrow, vowed to avenge his brother and personally led his army to march against Eastern Wu. But facing a formidable enemy, Eastern Wu's young general chose not to engage head-on. Instead, he adopted an entirely different strategy. This final confrontation is destined to change the fate of the Three Kingdoms, who will emerge victorious in the end.
In the turbulent days of the Three Kingdoms, one man stood as a pillar of strength for the Shu Han, Guan Yu, the revered leader of the Five Tiger Generals. Known for his unmatched martial prowess, he struck fear into the hearts of enemies across the land. Guarding the key territory of Jingzhou, Guan Yu's name was synonymous with honor, bravery, and loyalty. Yet fate often turns in the most unexpected ways. One fateful night, Lu Meng of Eastern Wu, disguised in simple white robes, led a stealthy assault across the river. His forces, swift and silent, attacked Guan Yu's stronghold of Jingzhou, catching him off guard. Surrounded by enemies from both sides, Guan Yu, famed for his unyielding spirit, was forced to retreat to the city of Maicheng. There, his fate was sealed, slain by Lu Meng's forces. The news of his death was a thunderclap that shook the entire Shu Han Empire. For Liu Bei, the ruler of Shu, this was no mere loss of a general. It was the loss of a brother, a loyal companion, and a symbol of their shared dream. Heartbroken and furious, Liu Bei vowed vengeance, swearing to avenge his fallen comrade and restore the honor of Shu. In 221 AD, despite the counsel of Zhuge Liang, Zhao Yun, and other trusted advisors who urged caution, Liu Bei led his forces personally into the heart of enemy territory. His grief and rage clouded his judgment as he aimed to bring retribution to Eastern Wu. The Shu army marched forward, sweeping through city after city with devastating speed. Eastern Wu's borders trembled under the pressure of Liu Bei's relentless advance. Time and again, Sun Quan, the ruler of Wu, sent envoys to request peace, only to be met with cold rejection from Liu Bei. Desperation set in. In response, Sun Quan appointed a young, untested commander, Lu Xun, to lead the defense of Eastern Wu. Though many of Wu's seasoned generals scoffed at the idea, doubting the abilities of such a young leader, Sun Quan saw something others did not. He placed his trust in Lu Xun, believing the young commander had the potential to turn the tide of battle. Lu Xun, though inexperienced in large-scale warfare, had proven himself in smaller skirmishes and had shown a remarkable ability to think strategically. Unlike his older counterparts, Lu Xun remained calm in the face of overwhelming odds. He did not rush into battle, but instead chose to wait, to watch, and to bide his time. His patience was not born of fear, but of careful calculation. As Liu Bei's army drew closer, Lu Xun decided on a bold, unconventional strategy. He ordered his forces to fall back and retreat across hundreds of miles of rugged terrain. Slowly but surely, Wu's forces gave ground, retreating to the town of Xiaoting, where they would make their stand. Liu Bei, frustrated by this retreat, sent emissaries to provoke Wu's generals, trying to goad them into a direct confrontation. But Lu Xun, like a mountain, remained unmoved. Time passed, and the Shu army waited, from spring to summer, their soldiers growing weary, their morale beginning to falter. Liu Bei, sensing an opportunity slipping away, decided to force the issue. Rather than continuing his pursuit, he ordered the construction of a massive camp stretching over several hundred miles through the mountains, hoping to create a line of defense that would be impossible for the enemy to breach. He believed that his soldiers, sheltered by this vast encampment, could outlast the Wu forces and make a final push when the time was right. What Liu Bei didn't realize was that in his desire to fortify, he had unknowingly created a vulnerability. His encampment, spread thin through the forests, became a prime target for an attack. The dense woods, full of dry timber, were a potential fire hazard, and Lu Xun, ever observant, saw his chance. With his army in position and the wind favoring him, Lu Xun knew it was time to strike. As night fell, a silence descended over the battlefield. Lu Xun gathered his officers, laying out his plan. He pointed to the map, his voice steady and decisive.
Liu Bei has laid his soldiers bare in the woods. Too many, too close together. The fire will spread like wildfire.
An elder general hesitated.
But my lord, you've been advocating for patience. Can we truly afford to risk everything in one attack?
Lu Xun's eyes gleamed with resolve.
Patience has brought us here. Now, it's time to act.
The soldiers of Eastern Wu, armed with bundles of dry reeds and torches, silently crept toward the Shu camp under the cover of darkness. The wind, a fierce southeast breeze, was at their backs, pushing the flames in the perfect direction. Suddenly, with a single command, the reeds were set ablaze. The fire leapt from one camp to the next, carried by the wind with terrifying speed.
Fire! Fire! The camps are burning!
A shout rang through the Shu camp as the flames spread. Chaos erupted. Soldiers scrambled to escape, but the fire was unstoppable, consuming everything in its path. More than 40 camps were devoured by the inferno. The sky was lit by the raging flames, and the air was thick with the screams of the dying and the cries of the desperate. Liu Bei, caught in the midst of the confusion, fought to break through the flames, but the damage was already done. His soldiers, trapped and disoriented, could not escape the firestorm. His grand defense lay in ruins. Liu Bei, surrounded by the remnants of his shattered forces, could do little but retreat in utter defeat. He managed to flee to Baidi City, his heart filled with sorrow and regret. This catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Yiling, where Liu Bei's army was decimated, shattered the strength of the Shu Han. From this point forward, the Shu kingdom would lose its edge in the struggle for dominance. But it was Lu Xun's masterstroke, the fire attack, that became the centerpiece of his military legacy. Using the terrain to his advantage, Lu Xun's fire attack mirrored the teachings of Sun Tzu's Art of War, specifically the fire attack chapter. He turned an apparent weakness into an opportunity, exploiting the enemy's overconfidence in their defenses. His cold, calculated strike not only won the battle, but also ensured Eastern Wu's survival in a critical moment. Lu Xun's success would go down in history as one of the most brilliant military moves of the Three Kingdoms period, a shining example of the power of strategy over brute force. As Lu Xun stood over the smoldering remains of the Shu camp, he said simply,
This victory is not mine alone. It belongs to Wu.
Sun Quan, deeply impressed by Lu Xun's performance, met him personally after the victory.
Lu Xun, you have saved Wu. Your victory today will go down in history.
Sun Quan said, his voice filled with gratitude. Lu Xun bowed humbly.
It was the wind and fire that did the work. We merely seized the opportunity.
With this victory, Lu Xun earned not only Sun Quan's complete trust, but also the respect of all who would study military strategy for centuries to come. His victory at Yiling, driven by patience, precision, and the calculated use of fire, would echo through the ages as a perfect example of Sun Tzu's teachings in action. And so the young general, once overlooked, became one of the greatest commanders of the Three Kingdoms. His name would forever be associated with brilliant military strategy, securing his place in history.
You're watching stories of strategy, learning Sun Tzu through legends. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more, please support us by subscribing. Every subscriber helps us keep these ancient tales alive. This is China Tales. See you in the next legend.